Hi everyone, this is Ginger with Gingerberry Creek, and today's tutorial is going to be about backstitching the mouth, eyebrows, and eye patch line of your Gingerberry Creek patterns. So as you can see, I've already stitched down the eye patch, and then which there is a tutorial on how to do this primitive stitching. So I've already stitched that down, and then I've already marked on my fabric the mouth and then the eyebrows that I'm gonna stitch. So we're gonna backstitch the eyebrows, the line that comes down the eye patch, and then the mouth. So what you'll need is you're gonna need a needle here and your DMC thread. I have already threaded this onto my needle, and I leave both ends unknotted. So here's one end of it that is, longer than the other end is up here, but leave both ends unknotted and have that ready. So now what we're going to do is you're going to go into the back here along this slit. So you're going to just anywhere along here, because this is going to end up being covered up. So we're just going to put the needle in. I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to do my my eye patch line first, and then I'm going to do the eyebrows, and then I'm going to do the mouth. Now on your pattern it'll tell you how many strands of DMC thread you're going to need. So on this one I'm using one. So this is one that's folded over and on my needle. So I've got it inserted back here. Now I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to come out at the bottom of this eye patch right down here. So kind of mess with it until you get it in the right place. There we go. So there I am right there. The needle's right there. Now I'm going to pull this and flip this back over and keep an eye on this thread back here, because what you want to do is leave a long thread. So I'm going to leave this long thread just like that. I'm going to kind of press it down to the fabric and hold it. Now on the eye patch line, I don't really backstitch it. I just do the line kind of like that. You can backstitch it, like in sections if you want to, but I leave one long piece. So I'm going to go in at the top, up here at the top of my eye patch. I'm going to insert, and then I'm going to push the needle over to this first, the end of this first eyebrow. So you can see the needles coming out over here. So now I'm going to pull my thread. Be sure to hang on to the thread on the back here, because you don't want to pull it out. So pull that nice and tight. Now I'm going to make this first eyebrow. So with these smaller stitches, you don't have to backstitch them. You can if you want to. Mostly I backstitch down along the mouth, but in the pattern it'll tell you to backstitch. So but with these smaller sizes on the eyebrows, you don't really have to backstitch them. You can just make them one line. So I'm going to go in at the end here of the line, and then I'm going to push my needle over to the top of this other eyebrow line, just like that. I'm going to pull that needle, pull that tight. So I'm going to go into the bottom part of this eye patch line here, and I'm going to push my needle over to the top part of, or this side of that mouth line. Sometimes you have to kind of just manipulate the fabric. So there it is right there. So now I'm going to pull my thread, and you can see I've made the line here and the 2 eyebrows. You can let go of this now. It should stay put on the back. So now I'm going to do this line. So this is how I go about it, is I'm going to, here's my line here. I'm going to come over to the end of it here, insert it, and I'm going to come out right here where the beginning of the bottom part of the line is. So right there. Pull my thread. You can see I'm on this side of the loop. So I'm going to pull that down, and then I'm going to bring my thread so it comes over it. Okay? So now is where we're going to be back stitching. So we're going to go down about, I don't, you know, there's no specific amount, just the longest, like, just straight line would be the eye patch line, but on the mouth, you're probably going to want to take smaller stitches. So about 1/4 inch, I'm going to go forward onto here, and then I'm going to go forward again, so it looks like that. I'm going to pull the thread. Alright, so here we have the start. Now here's where we start to back stitch. So here's where my thread is here, but I gotta come back to this place right here where we went in to begin with. And you can usually see where the little hole is, so that's what I try to do, is get right into that little hole. That way it kind of is nice and smooth. So I'm going to insert my needle into that hole, and then I'm going to go forward a little bit on this line. So see, here's the thread, there's my needle, that's about 1/4 inch. I'm going to pull my thread, and so now we've made this part of the mouth. So we're going to just keep doing this, and this is why it's called back stitching, because I go forward, come back into the hole, go forward, come back into the hole, and so on and so forth. So now I'm going to come back into this where the thread was, into this hole, go forward about 1/4 inch, pull my thread, come back to this hole right here, go forward on the line about 1/4 inch, around curves they may need to be a little bit smaller stitches so that they transition nicely. So now I'm going to take this stitch back to this where the thread was before in this hole, and then I'm going to go move forward on the line like that, pull my thread, and again I'm going to come back to this hole right here, go down here to the bottom of this point, pull my thread, come back. Now on points like this is how we're going to do it. So I'm going to come back to this point right here to where the hole was before, and this time I'm just going to kind of push over to the line over here, get it in the right position, pull my thread, and if it gets tangled up you kind of have to undo it there. Okay, so we came down to a point, so now I'm gonna come back down to this point where the hole is, and then move forward on my line pull my thread again, come back, go forward on the line. So you just continue to do this until you have it completely stitched. Take your time, no hurries. The smaller the stitches, the smoother some of these transitions will be. The larger, it'll be kind of more blocky. So I find that about the 1/4 inch or less around the curves usually does really nicely. So, and if you don't get right in the hole from the previous stitch, that's okay. You know, don't panic. It's gonna look fine. So just keep doing this all the way until we get close to the end here. Okay, so now to make this other line, so I've gone forward on the line there. And now I'm going to come into this hole here. So I'm going to be making this line like I did over here. So I'm going to come into this hole here. But this time, instead of going to the end right there, I'm going to come out to the edge of that line. Alright? I'm going to pull my thread. Then I'm going to go in to the top or the bottom, however you're looking at it, of this line. And come out right at the middle section right here and pull. Okay, now remember the loop needs to be on this side, so whenever it gets pulled down, it comes over and on top like that. Okay, so now we need to finish up this right here. So all we're gonna do is insert at that place right there where we were before. I'm going to insert my needle. I'm going to turn this over so I can see the back and where my beginning thread tail is. And now I'm going to push until I come out right next to that thread. See, right there next to it. Then I'm going to grab this, turn this back over, try to keep things out of the way, pull this down. So now we have stitched the eyebrows, the eye patch line, and backstitched the mouth. So then from this point you would take and cut these threads, and then knot them off. Make a double knot to knot it off, and then I'm going to hide these thread tails. So then my other needle here, I'm going to thread them on. I'm going to try to thread them on like those so they're nice. Go. So now I've got it threaded like that, and then you just go back in to the hole, push over an inch or more, pull your needle, the thread comes out like that, give it a little tug. Sometimes the little knot will snap up underneath the fabric, and then we're gonna trim like that. So now that is the finished back stitching line of your mouth and eyebrows. So that's how you do that technique. So now you would go on to your next step of attaching your eyes and stuff, which there is a tutorial out there on how to attach the eyes. But thank you for watching. I hope this has been helpful, and stay tuned for another tutorial. Bye.